Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and before we get into today's video, yes, this is a little bit of a different setup. It's nothing fancy. I have just decided to put something relevant to what we're talking about in the background on my TV, that's how if you don't know, that's how I record my gaming videos. I just face the camera towards the TV until it fills the whole frame. So I feel like it's better, I feel like it's better looking aesthetically than my off-white couch and my white wall. So we're going to try that today and throughout the rest of the weekend. Future talking videos to see how they look to you guys and how they do. But speaking of what we're talking about today, if you can't tell what's behind me, that is Okada Omega. I pointed at myself. Kazuchika Okada, the current AEW Continental Champion. 2 seconds. And Omega, the International Champion. They're having their big match, their first meeting in AEW at All in Texas next month, and holy shit. Last night was a 4-hour episode of AEW. It was Fyter Fest, it was Dynamite and Collision. I can't prove this. It's something I should have looked up before I started recording, like I had to do with something else here. But I think there's some sporting going on, some sports ball. So Collision has to be moved around. So instead of moving it to like Friday or late Saturday or even Sunday, they're just doing back-to-back shows. They're doing it next week as well for something else. I don't remember what it's called. But during all that, there's a lot of good matches. There's a lot of good stuff. I love the stuff with Tony and Mercedes. I love the stuff with like Ricochet. He's trying to build a new group. And Nick Wayne is back. And yada, yada, yada. But the main thing everyone wants to talk about... Oh, and Thekla's debut. I didn't know much about her, but I'm learning. But the big thing everyone wants to talk about is the fact that we're finally getting Okada and Omega. I almost said Okada. Okada and Omega at All In Texas. For those of you who don't know, these two had a huge rivalry in New Japan back in 2017 and one match in 2018. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. This is such a big deal for wrestling fans that are fans of this kind of wrestling, you know. I'm going to briefly walk you through the feud they had in case you don't know, and you can kind of decide if you want to go watch it. If you can find a way to watch these matches, I highly recommend it. Someday I want to do like my favorite matches of all time countdown, maybe like a 20 or 25 or something like that. Maybe even just a 10. I thought about doing just a top 10. One of these matches is definitely in that group. I'm just going to leave it at that. This is probably my all-time favorite mini feud, I guess. Because again, they've only wrestled 4 times one-on-one. And each match was so special. Each match was so important. Each match had whatever crowd they were in front of losing their goddamn minds. But it all started in a championship match back in January of 2017 at Wrestle Kingdom 11. Now, at the time, I would even be willing to go back to 2016 for this. I was just starting to discover the world of not WWE, I guess. Because for most of my life, I just watched like WWE, and then I watched a little WCW, but not much till after they were already dead. ECW, and of course I watched TNA. It was nice to have an alternative, but it wasn't perfect. So I'm just a WWE guy. I was aware of the outside world, but I didn't really watch much. But as this match approached, Okada versus Omega, everyone that was my friend that watched that kind of wrestling was like, dude, you've got to check this out. This is the time. You watch this match. You got to watch this match. So I did. I watched Wrestle Kingdom 11, and I was absolutely fucking blown away. This match was over 45 minutes. I wrote down the times. I don't know why I wrote down all the times, but it was 46 minutes. I just realized what I wrote couldn't be right. I wrote 46 minutes and 65 seconds. So that'd be 47:05. Anyway, it was over 47 minutes, or 46 anyway, and it was just a masterclass. 2 of the best wrestlers in the world at the time, especially. Okada was like right there. He was right there. He was the IWGP World Champion, I'm pretty sure. And, you know, it was an awesome match, but Okada did win that one. They had a rematch. I don't know how New Japan works. The point is they had another match at Dominion in 2017, 5 months later, June 11th of 2017. And that one went to a 60-minute time limit draw. Now, we've seen a couple 60-minute time limit draw Iron Man matches in AEW, and they're always fun to watch as long as you're into them. But most of them are on TV. I think it was MJF and Bryan Danielson might have had the one at the pay-per-view, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember. watching one on pay-per-view, watching an uninterrupted hour-long match is crazy, especially when it wasn't an Iron Man match. That's the thing. This wasn't meant to go an hour. It wasn't like, hey, well, I mean, it was scripted too, you know what I mean? But the idea that you're just watching a singles match run its course, run the hour, that doesn't happen all the time. And when it does, it's a shock. And for these two men to do that in their second match, it really threw a lot of people off, really threw a lot of people into like, oh shit, so now what? That's a lot of people rank that one as their favorite of the group. After that, 2 months later, I have here, August 12th, they were in the G1 Climax, which is a New Japan tournament. Don't ask me what kind of tournament. I don't know. I didn't look up that hard. But I know of the G1 Climax. I think it's a round-robin tournament. And Omega and Okada had a less than 25-minute match that Omega won. The thing is they had these two really long matches, 46 minutes and 60 minutes. And they also had a short match at 24, almost 25. That's not short by any stretch of the imagination. But when you compare it to the other two, which take up 100 minutes of wrestling time, you know, that's an hour and 40 minutes of just these two men wrestling. Their third match it's fun, it's quick, it's choppy, it's like, holy shit, they can do anything. I bet if you gave them 7 minutes, they'd make it work. But the big one that we're going to talk about, the big two we're going to talk about, is the last one and the upcoming one. Because the last match they had was 8 months later, or not 8, 10 months later, excuse me, I can't do math, at Dominion the following year in 2018, a 2 out of 3 falls, no holds barred, no time limit match. Okada won the first fall, Omega won the next 2 falls. He finally became the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and this match went 65 minutes, or 64 minutes and 50 seconds. I told you I had to write it all down. Handy dandy notebook makes its triumphant return. Spoiler alert, if you're planning on watching my countdown someday of my favorite matches ever, that's number 1. I know it's going to cause some controversy. I like controversy. What Eric Bischoff used to say, controversy creates cash. But don't be an asshole about it. It's my favorite match ever, okay? And we'll talk about that another time. But the point is, these two wrestled for almost 65 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes of two men doing leg grapple. It was a brutal match. Don't get me wrong, absolutely violent. Some of the best wrestling you are ever likely to see in your entire life, before or after, and it stands the test of time. This whole feud stood the test of time. Having the time limit draw be the second match was really inventive, I thought, really creative, really interesting, because usually if you're going to do a feud that's 4 matches long, you do 1 win, 2 win, draw, final win. But in this one, they did the draw in the second match, and it was like, oh, well, what the hell? Who was going to win that? Was Okada going to go 2 over, or was Omega finally going to do it? And then they did the rematch. Omega beat him in a much shorter time span. And then, of course, we had this last match. Now, you fast forward. That was in 2018. It's been 7 years. Just under 7 years. No, just over. Excuse me. By the time this match happens in July, I think it's July 12th I've written down here, at All In Texas, it will be over 7 years since this feud came to its end. Came to its conclusive end. They were done. They wrestled for 65 minutes. It raises a lot of questions about what the hell happens next. Like I said, they're both champions, international and continental, and both titles are on the line. I'm not trying to do my picks and predictions, but you would think that the way that AEW is telling their stories right now with the Death Riders and the Elite and all the good guys and all the bad guys, the good guys are starting to get a couple of wins. They're starting to make the bad guys go, uh-oh. So, logically, you would think Omega's going to win this match. But does he need to? He's Kenny Omega. He could easily lose this match, and it wouldn't hurt him, it wouldn't hurt Okada, whatever. But I think that's something to consider. You know, if they're going to continue the story of the baby faces are finally trying to overcome the heels, the mega heels, this is it. But also, I just told you, they wrestled for over, what is it? I'm going to do this. In total, they have wrestled each other for over 3 hours. Like, if you were to watch all 4 matches back to back to back to back, you'd watch 2 men scrapping in their pants for 3 hours, over 3 hours. So how long does AEW make this match? It's an AEW pay-per-view, so it's going to be like 4 or 5 hours long. Do they give it a 30-minute mark and see what they can do? Do they do as short as their G1 max? Do they do the hour-long draw? Do we go back to that? Again, this isn't a place to pick or predict, but this is such a huge moment. If you would have told me, who I just started watching international wrestling and other wrestling besides WWE, back in even 2018 after Omega won the title, that, hey, someday that match can happen on U.S. soil. I was told you to come here, slapped you in the face, and told you to quit lying. This is just so exciting because not only has AEW done a great job of keeping them not apart by any stretch of the imagination, but keeping them away from having a singles match. I shouldn't have done that. They've also done a great job of building this feud over the last couple of months and weeks, especially. And now the match has been made official with, what is today? Today is the 5th. So a little over a month to go. A month and a week to go before All In. Roughly. So it is such a huge match. And I think we're all in for a treat. Tony Khan clearly has a love for a certain style of pro wrestling that Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada definitely embody. They're definitely more experienced in it. Like, the wrestling continues to evolve, and they were at the forefront of that evolution. I've said many times Kenny Omega is probably my favorite wrestler, and Okada is like, if Kenny Omega's 1, Okada's probably 1A. They're two of the best to ever do it. They're one of the best. I'm sorry I say so much, an ADHD thing. They're one of the best pairings you'll ever see in pro wrestling. They're two guys that you could put in the ring for 40 seconds. You could put in the ring for an hour and a half. You could put in the ring and tell them to play checkers, but make it exciting, and they would figure out a way. This is huge for wrestling in pretty much all aspects. This is going to remind people like me. It's kind of nostalgic. It's been, like I said, 7 years since the last time they met. 8 years since the feud first started. 8.5 years by the time this... Yeah, that's what's crazy about this. It's been 8.5 years since... I turned into Mr. Krabs the Robot. I'll calm down. I'm very excited. It's been 8.5 years since Wrestle Kingdom 11, where they first met for 47 minutes almost. Just an incredible match for the IWGP Championship. And here we are, all these years later, nearly a decade later, only a year and a half shy of a decade, and they're going to meet again. So people like us can have a bit of nostalgia for what we saw back then. With it being as long as it's been, both of these men have shown that they can still go at the same level they've always been able to go. But can they pull off another? Dave Meltzer gave that last match like 7 stars in a 5-star system. So he broke it and gave it 2 extra stars just because it was that good to him. I don't know what AEW does here, and I'm excited to find out. For those of you who aren't familiar with this style of wrestling, I highly suggest you go out of your way to try to find those 4 matches. Watch them in order. Watch the build-ups. Watch how each match changes. Callbacks to other matches, callbacks to other shit in general, and then be prepared for that final match. It's hard enough, you would think anyway, to sit through a 60-minute match. It's not supposed to be 60 minutes. That just has a 60-minute time limit, and they reach it. Wait till you get the no time limit, no disqualifications, 65-minute classic that, again, got 7 stars in a 5-star system. So I think as wrestling fans, we should be very happy about this. A lot of times after Dynamite goes off the air or Collision, any specials, I go on online and look at the online discourse. I don't know why. I know it's bad for my health. But most people seem really happy about this. They're excited AEW is getting to it, finally. They're excited that it's happening at such a big show. And, of course, the big question is, does Omega versus Okada 5 main event? Now, I know some people are going to get tingly in their buttholes because I said 5, even though the other 4 matches took place in New Japan. But it is the 5th meeting. I guarantee you that AEW is going to promote it as their 5th match, but also their very first match in All Elite Wrestling. So, huge milestone for both these men. But the main event question comes into question. Do these 2 main event, or do we give it to Moxley and Hangman? I think that all hangs on who wins Moxley and Hangman. Now, a lot of people think that Moxley should have lost a long time ago, and I don't disagree. Jon Moxley is way up in my favorites, but this Death Rider thing has run its course, and the briefcase, what's in the briefcase? That's all run its course. If you're going to have Hangman Adam Page dethrone Jon Moxley, it should probably close the show, right? because you're going to have like all the baby faces run out like Bret Hart at WrestleMania 10. They're all going to run out. They're all hold Hangman up and go, woo, we beat the Death Riders. Death Riders? That's probably Adam Copeland. The Death Riders will be defeated and all that. In which case you think that Omega would be a part of that celebration. And if he also beats Okada, then he comes out with both belts and he's like, woo. And I'm not sure which belt they're keeping, but I know they're probably going to merge them. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to mark out for 20 or so minutes. Well, 15, I suppose. I'm just very excited about this, and I think as pro wrestling fans, we should not overlook how important this is and how exclusively amazing this is. And I do want to hear what you guys think about this. So get in the comments. Are you excited about it? Are you one of these guys that just hates this kind of wrestling? And do you think it should be the main event of All In? I personally, even if I knew the outcome of Moxley and Page, I think it should main event no matter what. You could have Hangman Adam Page beat John Moxley and have the big celebration, and then maybe he has a meeting with Hangman backstage and goes, Hangman has a meeting with Omega backstage, and Omega's like, all right, I took this. It's your turn to take what Okada has. Like, let's take everything away from the Elite and the Death Riders. So you go either direction. Thank you so much for watching. If you decide to watch this, also leave a comment about my new setup. It's nothing crazy. I'm just sitting down in front of a screen that, makes the background a little more exciting than, again, off-white and white. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment about all the things I asked you to comment about. I am very much looking forward to All In next month. I superbly, supremely, extremely hope that I am able to afford it, because this match alone is worth the price of admission. So until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. Enjoy the ride to Okada Omega 5, and I will see you in the next one.